those from the OTTs, Google, and so that they keep talking about the happy Abels and this kind of things. Non sono le 5 già, cominciamo. Comincio io. Sì, la prima parte, dopo tu vedi il word. Okay. Hello, everyone. We will start the CCAMP session now. So welcome, everybody. So please consider the note well. So the request of behaving in a professional manner. So for all of those participating in this, being professional and behave with respect to others and basically keeping all the discussions on the professional side. And also as a reminder, keep aware of that any IETF contribution, in case of being covered by patents, basically you need to refer to that and make the working group aware of that. So the session is being recorded as usual, so will be available in Miteco. For those in the room, you can connect to the room, to the simple version of Miteco. For those in being remote, so you have the full Miteco client. Please keep the video off and the mic also off if you will not intervene on the discussion, and in case that you intervene remotely, it's advised to use headphones for ensuring a better quality on the communication. So the link on Miteco is there, it's in the agenda, so you can access there and basically click on it. And remember to, if you want to participate live in the discussion, join the queue so that we can keep track of all of you. Also, it's important to connect to Miteco for recording the participation, registering the participation of everyone in the meeting. So we have no any longer the blue sheets, but this will be the mechanism to keep track of who is participating in the meeting. So regarding the minutes, Jaumian, our secretary, used to take the minutes. Today, Jaumian cannot be present here, so it would be wonderful if someone else here in the room can help on that. You see there the link for the notes. So if any of you is so kind to help on the process, is more than welcome. The blue sheets, as mentioned before, so connecting to Miteco is the participation in the working group is registered, so please do so. And a reminder of the IPR process. As long as the documents are processing, there will be a polling for the authors and contributors. So basically to comment if any of you are aware of any IPR applying to the document. And again, prior to moving towards the next steps in the working group process, there will be additional IPR request. So the session details are on the slide. So we are in this big room, called room. So we, in principle, will be 2 hours, or probably less than that. The agenda, you can see we will cover different documents, some of them already in the working group, some other individual propositions. So we will go first for those adopted, and then we will cover the individual ones. So you have access to the agenda in the IETF agenda, basically. So we will now cover the working group status.
So a quick update on our plans. So here you can find the link to the wiki page. We are trying to keep this updated with ongoing IPR polls on status of the drafts. We try to identify dependencies. If a draft is expired, we try to identify how, if there are plans to move it forward. And last but not least, we try to share with the working group the priorities that we are trying to follow for working group adoption and working group last call. typically we have 3-4 top priorities, and this is our plan moving forward. Here, just to make an example, the prioritization we were thinking of for the next draft to be adopted by the working group, we have the WDM pluggables, for which we are running the IPR polling right in these days. And then the data model for client signal performance monitoring, and then the data model for fine-grain optical transport networks. On the other side, we have the priorities for working group last call. We tried to consider also dependencies. You probably saw that there is a huge list of drafts in the editor queue that are blocked by other documents in other working groups. So we try to consider also these when doing the next last call. Hopefully, this is something that will be solved soon. One draft that is a pre-requirement for many of our drafts is the young TE, but that is finally moving forward. So thanks a lot for the work on that. And we have the chairman of the blocking working group at the mic.
Pawan Biram, talking as TE's working group chair. Yeah, the TE young TE document and the TE types update document.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? The young TE document and the TE types young document, the update document, both have been submitted for publication. Much thanks to Adrian for pushing the authors to get the TE document ready. So those two should be good enough for you to progress these documents.
Thank you. Thanks. So from our side, the last draft that we pushed to the SG is the 1993 bis, which was supposed to be moved along with the optical impairment topology. But they were two quite big drafts to be digested in a single bite, to be swallowed in a single bite. So in the end, we separated them, and the optical impairment topology is the next one that will be moved forward. And then we thought to sort of conclude the work on FlexiGrid, with the FlexiGrid young model, and followed by the DWDM interface and the OTN tunnel model. So if we are not in democracy, so the priority is decided by the chairs, but if you have concerns, if you believe that there is some work that is more important for the industry, that the working group would like to move forward faster, etc., reach out to us. That's absolutely something that we can discuss. Status. Unfortunately, we don't have any new RFCs since the last meeting. Probably now that the block will be removed, we will have a long list for the next meeting. We have in the editor queue, in fact, we have the 1993 bis, layer 1 types, L1 CSM, and the OTN topology young. Some of them are there since a few days. Some others are probably close to a couple of years, but hopefully this will soon be resolved. The optical impairment topology, as we said, is in the ASG processing. Today, we have two working group documents being discussed, the DWDM interface parameter young and the DWDM tunnel young. There is a long list of working group drafts that will not be discussed today. And Luis did an amazing job in collecting information on them. And so I let him make a summary for you.
Thank you. So yeah, we will cover here the document, the working group drafts that are not in the agenda. So starting for the ACTN optical transport management, a new version was posted on May. So there are yet things to cover, but essentially the point here is that the authors consider that this is a living document, so will not be completed until all of the requirements are met. So the plan is to update as soon as this is happening. Next is the client signal jam model. So this has not been updated since last IETF in July in Madrid. Next steps are to evaluate the interest, to split and proceed separately on the draft. Next is the Ethernet client T TopoYang. A new version has been just released in October. Next steps are to align with the packet T topology, align with the other topology models, and complete the model description. Moving forward, we have the Flexi Ethernet YANG model. So the content is stable since version 03. We are now in version 06. So the authors believe the document is ready for working group last call. So we take note of that. And as Daniel was mentioned before, we will consider for next prioritization. OTM path computation YAM model. This draft has been also refreshed last month in October. So it requires some alignment with the latest changes of the models and so to cover the different dependencies. And after that, the authors consider can be ready for starting the working group last call process. The OTN tunnel model, this has not been updated since last IETF meeting in Madrid. And basically here, there is a need of checking that there are no changes so that we can progress as well with this draft. Then the YAN OTN slicing, there has not been update in respect to this document. So there is the need of addressing the review comments and complete the review. And once this review is done, so again, this will be ready for working group last call from the perspective of the authors. And finally, the TSV mode signaling. The authors are waiting for final versions of the optical impairment and layer 0 interfaces YAM module. So once we have this, the authors can basically update the document and request the working group's last call. I think that they were all. Regarding liaisons statements related to CCAMP, well, this morning once a new arrived, so it's not considered here in the deck, and we need to process it. For those that are somehow from IETF 1 to 3 till now, we have the liaison statement 2019 from the ITUT for the IMT 2020, so the activities related to CG. And we have the liaison 2065 from ITUT SG 15. In both of them, the action that we basically identified was to update the CCAMP documents to be listed in the documents for ITUT to consider them so that they can have the more fresh information from the working group. Apart from that, we will just to highlight and to remark the fact that the CCAMP working group is very active apart from the physical meetings. In the official IETF meetings, we have a number of active calls, weekly or bi-weekly, FlexiGrid, microwave, OTN slicing, optical pluggable, service pack computation, optical impairment topology, and transport MBI. So this somehow, visualize that the activity of the group is relevant. And just to comment that apart from this session that we are having today, there have been other meetings in IETF 1 to 4. So there was a side meeting on layer 0, layer 1 boundary scenarios for WDM tunnel modeling this week. So would be in general, or we always call for the organizer of these calls and all these side meetings as well to provide some updates to the mailing list. Would be good that the working group somehow has the most recent news about the progress of the activity in general. And with that, we have covered the slides. Not sure if there is any point from the working group to address or agenda basing or these kind of things. Otherwise, we move to the next presentation then. So it will be Roberto instead of...
Hi everyone, I'm Roberto Manzotti presenting this draft on behalf of the co-authors. Okay, so just a quick slide to again introduce the relationship of this draft with the other in the optical management domain. So this draft is actually going to be an augmentation of the IETF interface to provide management parameters and also operational live data for DWDM specific interface. It has been a conjunction work with the optical impairment topology and with the RFC 1993Bs that are now close to the publication, and is using the same approach to describe the capability and to identify the way the DWDM interface are configured. I'll go very quick on this slide. Is still remarking some relationship with other draft, but what is relevant here is the status of our GitHub. We have closed almost all the issues that were coming from the OPS-TIR review and from the Young Doctor review. We are left with just 2 issues to close right now. That one is still related to the model that need to be fixed, and we have already the fix. We have the fix ready to be applied. And the second one are mainly coming from the Drew comment of the RTG their review. A few comments that are still pending to be addressed. Again, so as mentioned before, so the document change has been relevant in terms of the fix of all the comment that we have received, and thanks for the very good review that we had from all the reviewer. And we have actually enhanced the model with a few operational parameters that were missing, and we feel that were important to for the first release of the model, that are the chromatic dispersion, polarization mode dispersion, and polarization dependent loss of the interface. And one other relevant change that has been done in the document is in the primary key for the threshold crossing alert list. It was before connected, so it was before used to be the TCA type, but since we have seen that there was a potential issue on that, because it was not possible in that case to define multiple threshold related to the same TCA type. For example, for the receive power was not possible using the receive power TCA type to allocate, so to configure multiple threshold for low or degrade or whatever. So we decided to introduce a new leaf to be used for as a primary key, that is the TCE ID, and basically TCE type has become a normal leaf of the list, allowing to define multiple thresholds on the same type of measurement point. And one last main change that we have done, this is also to follow some indication that are coming from the optical gap analysis for pluggable. We have split the parameter in the DWDM interface in 3 main containers that separate the configuration, the performance monitoring, and the operational state information of the DWDM interface. This is a quick overview of the main change. Yes, as you can see, basically now what before was completely in a single container now is split across the 3 different containers. And for the 2 parameters that were related to the central frequency and to the transmit power, we actually duplicated them as a target central frequency, a target transmit power in the configuration section, and with the, let's say, operational value of the transmit channel power and central frequency that are in the interface status container. The next step are, of course, the fix of the 2 issues that we have still pending. And apart from that, we think that the draft is now quite stable and we should be ready to request the work group last call on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any question for Roberto?
It is already in the top priority list.
I've seen. Great. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Before we start, I wanted to make a recommendation, and this slide is reminded me about the recommendation. So often we tend to put a lot of contributors in our documents, just to say thanks to someone that contributed, did a review, or that added some test, etc. Please don't put too many people in the contributors list, because otherwise we become mad chasing them for IPR polling, etc., etc. There is an RFC with the guidelines on how to identify authors or contributors and the acknowledgement session. I don't remember the number by heart. Probably Ketan does, because he pointed me in that direction.
Yeah, there are RFCs, but there is a statement from IESG. I'll just put it on the chat right now.
Okay. Very good. So just a reminder for everyone. We are facing that issue right now with the WDM pluggables draft. We are chasing people that are maybe not very active or not even on the mailing list. So just an indication for the future. Please follow the indications that Ketan has just shared in the draft. So it's not particularly referring to this draft, which I know is a merge of a lot of drafts. So it's also difficult to say which one is an author, which one is a contributor, and so on and so forth. But for the future, please keep this in mind.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a good reminder, because particularly for this model, it comes with a long history and is a result of two merged documents, which has its own list of authors. So we can discuss that and try to update it according to the guideline. Okay, so with that said, this will give you an update on the WDM tunnel YANG. What we have updated since the revision 05 is that on the YANG model update, we made changes. So because this draft is depending on RFC 1993 bis, which is undergoing working group last call, and there are a bunch of changes. So we need to bring it in to align to this model. And also the most part of the change is an update on the modeling for regenerators, which is primarily a result of our discussion on the modeling for layer 0, layer 1 parameters involving different regenerator scenarios. So we have listed, we have added a section that describes the type of regeneration that's going to be covered by the draft, and also the different pairs of transponders in and as regenerator, and also support for single or multi-carrier scenarios. For the model itself, we also have defined some base identities, like for regeneration layer, for the digital layer termination, as well as the inverse multiplexing type. But as we said, right now we only defined the base identity, and we are still discussing and consolidating the scenarios. As you probably see, we have a few side meetings in this IETF session. So hopefully with the conclusion, then we will be able to define a complete list of identities based on the discussion result. And on the text, yeah, like I said, I think we just added a section to describe it in the scenarios for 3R regenerators. So there are still quite some open issues to be resolved. We are still on our way to address multiple comments from the routing area director and the young doctor reviews, which is tracked by the open issues, and as well as to improve the text for the WDM tunnel provisioning steps. It has been long due to that this part of the description is pretty simple, and so we need to enrich the text. And also, there are comments about updating the relationship between this model and the dependent models. For example, optical impairment, 9093 bis, as well as the other companion document for optical path computation. So we are talking about adding an illustrative diagram for that. And then the identities, yes, for sure, we need to define that. And also some useful construct to allow operations, optical layer specific operations, like to perform automatic power equalization on the WDM tunnel, etc. But that can be done later once we have other issues addressed. And at the same time, we have also the relevant work in the gap analysis for optical pluggables that we are saying can be reflected, or if there's any gap that can be reflected into this model, so which can result in further changes. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. So this is some slight details, right? We have this in order to describe the different type of regenerative scenarios and the reference point within those scenarios. We have defined some terms, for example, the incoming and outgoing transponders in those regenerator scenarios, and because the designation are kind of different depending on whether it's one way or unidirectional or bidirectional regeneration with respect to the signal directions. Right? So we have those defined in the text and in the Young model. Right. So yeah, this is just a snapshot of the Young models currently defined. Don't need to go to the details. The next step is to address those open issues primarily, and when we have weekly meetings going on, so hopefully we'll get the layer 0, layer 1 boundary discussion complete and reflected in the model, updated the text, and yeah, and make the draft more stable. Right. I think that's it.
Thank you, Aiwa. Any question for Aiwa on this?
Go ahead.
So in in slide 3, you speak about dependencies.
Yeah.
So both the WDM path computation and the pluggable work could have impact on this draft.
Could impact this draft.
Yes. So this means that this could be blocked for a long time.
You mean the pluggable?
No, this one.
Well, it depends on the analysis, on the gap analysis, and if there's a gap, we definitely can address that in the model.
Okay. Because so I was trying to think if there is a workaround to avoid the same situation in which we are now, that we have a dependency on something that is still at the very early stages, and that would be blocking this draft for a long time. Yes, Italo.
I'm going to address your comment. Just to clarify, the WDM path computation is depending on this draft, not the other way around.
Okay,
and
makes more sense.
Yes, yes.
From what I read, it seemed the opposite.
Yeah, I thought you were referring to the pluggable work, but
Yeah,
the WDM path computation is.
Yes, so that's first point. And this document is depending on the T-tunnel model, which is already in publication request. WDM path computation is depending on this document and on the T-path computation, which will be go to ISG soon. For the pluggable, I think we did the same for optical impairments, and we are more or less doing the same for interfaces. We can be opportunistic. If we found a gap and the document is open, why not addressing it?
Yeah.
If the document is closed, we can do a BIS.
Yeah.
I hope, I don't know, Simed, he will find a way to get the BIS in a more lightweight.
Right.
Exactly, that's another problem. We are getting plenty of BIS documents, and
but the thing is, for this document, we still have like relatively more time to accommodate any gap if we've identified that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we enter now on the not yet adopted drafts. So next is Reza. Okay, work now.
Yeah, it's working. Hello, everyone. My name is Reza Rokui from Siena. On behalf of draft author and contributor, I'm going to present the pluggable work that has been started around 1 year ago or so. And we had a side meeting on Monday. So whatever I'm presenting here, we went through all the details, and we already talked about some of the stuff that I want to present in the previous discussion. Roberto and Iva, they are related work, and you will see how they are related to whatever we want to, achieve. Just a short summary of where we are since the previous IETF. The new version 03 has been issued, and this is the base for the working group adoption, as it was presented at the earliest, at the beginning of this session. Daniel mentioned that this is a top for the working group adoption. We are waiting for that. What we want to do, or what we're trying to achieve in parallel, there are two things which is very important, and both of them are important. One is the attribute list for the capability configuration and the PM stats that we have started in the Google Sheet, and we discussed it a few times during the last IETFs. We are still working on that one. We think we reached to some level of the maturity. Obviously, it's not done yet, but we work on that one. There work in that area. The next area is using that as a basis for doing the gap analysis. Gap analysis means what we have to find out is missing from the existing IETF models and contribute or bring the solution or guidelines, how to bring that one to IETF. So long story short, two areas that we have to work. It's Google Sheet and the gap analysis. And we talk about gap analysis, when I was discussing it, that is some of the area that I will touch on that one as well. So if I go to the gap analysis, it's a kind of the detail of what we want to achieve. During the weekly meeting that we had for the Google Sheet and the discussion of the attributes, it was repeatedly asked that we need to finish the work for the Google Sheet and go and bring the gap analysis. And this is exactly what we want to do. For the gap analysis, the idea here is we are not going to reinvent the wheel. We are going to reuse existing IETF Yang model as much as we can. This is the basis that we start from. During the process of the gap analysis, if we find out there is a need to do another model, we will do it. But the basis for us right now, the foundation that we want to work, is the existing model. We are not going to compete with any work that is happening. It was discussed for the DWDM interfaces, for the tunnel, for the impairment draft, and so forth. This is complementary to whatever they do. They have their own process right now. Most of them are at the end of the working group at the last call. But this is something extra. And this is very important that I want to make sure that we are really clear on that one. So from the gap analysis perspective, this is the solution that we all agree at this time. Based on whatever Roberto mentioned, we take that model as a basis, which has a very good foundation for capability, for configuration, for a state. And we use that one, and we bring the Google Sheet attribute that we feel that it's missing, a still work in progress, as I mentioned, to that model. So we are going to add those to that DWDM interface parameter. And this is the basis that we start with. As we go through that process, we will see, is there anything else should be added? So this is one area that we are right now doing. Another thing that is also important, and I repeat some of this thing here, when we do the gap analysis, it is important to provide a guidelines what to do. We don't want to just say that there is a gap and this attribute are missing. We have to provide a solution, a guideline, and this is exactly what we do. So from the process of the document, we are going to create, already there is a section for the gap analysis from the perspective of the pluggables. This is the main goal of this draft, as you clearly see here. We're going to introduce that already there. We are going to populate that. However, having said that, in addition to that, we can extend the work for the other IETF area who can benefit from this work. For example, we are introducing the various attribute to the pluggables, and the work that IWA is doing, and it was mentioned 5 minutes ago. If DWDM tunnel wants to use that attribute, we can take that opportunity at this time to say that because we're introducing this attribute to pluggable, we have to modify or change something from DWDM tunnel. Again, the structure that we want to work, we don't want to introduce a new document. We don't want to, there is one single document at this time. We take that one, we create a subsection, impact of the pluggable to DWDM tunnel. We want to assign a name to that one, an ownership. They say this is the gap, and this is the guideline to address that gap. We can extend that one to other area, for example, to the services, if there is a need to do that one. Those are extra that if we want to do it, it is possible. And since there are a group of co-authors and contributors, we're really open to any suggestion, take ownership of any of those subsections. And the important aspect that I guess everybody implicitly, or in most cases, mentioned is time is the essence. We want to make sure that we are doing something that we have started more than a year ago, and we can finish it in a really timely manner. And we think, as a group, that is the best approach to do that. So if I summarize what we want to This is a snapshot that you've seen it before as well. Just put it here as a work in progress. This is the same slide that I used in the previous IETF. So if I summarize, we are waiting for the adoption. In addition to that, we are in parallel working on the Google Sheet, attributes, and gap analysis, and any other area that benefit from that DWDM tunnel is one of them. If there is anything else that you think that introduction of the new attribute to the pluggable might change that, you are more than welcome to join weekly meeting that we have and take ownership of that and start working on that. By the way, Google Sheet is open to everyone. Everybody has a edit action on that one, privileges. If there is anything that you want to suggest, to change or modify something, please go ahead. Google Sheet is there, do it, and during the weekly meeting, provide a suggestion to everybody else. With that, I'm concluding the discussion, the session here, but if there is any question or a topic that you want to discuss, please go ahead.
Any question for Reza? No? Okay.
Thank you very much.
So next is Sunsuke.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Do you want the control, Sunsuke, or should I pass the slides?
Sorry, I don't know how to control the slide. So can you control the?
Yep. Just 1 second, please.
Yeah. Okay. So hello everyone. My name is Jessica Homa from NTT. So I'd like to explain the update of our draft about the young data model for CMIS access and control. Okay. So next slide, please. Okay, so firstly, I'd like to look back the concept of this proposal and assumed use cases. As you know, this transceiver equipped with network OS, equipped with router or switch is handled by network OS or with CMIS protocol. And this means there are some dependency between network OS and the DC transceiver. And if you want to use any DC transceiver on your router or switch, the network OS need to support these transceivers. Also, CMIS has a custom page which is a vendor specific field, and there are no way to handle such field as a general or standardized schema. So we propose a model to handle the CMIS register. So CMIS register is
Suzuki, we have lost the audio.
Several blocks, and you can access.
Suzuki. Suzuki.
We lost your audio. Yep. Will be augmented to IETF interface. So next slide, please.
Suzuki, we have lost some couple of minutes of your audio. Can you please comment back?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, but somehow the audio was interrupted. So maybe can you repeat from where you were commenting about the YAM model, please?
Okay. So CMIS register is separated into the several memory blocks, and you can access to any target data by indicating page, bank, and offset. So this YAM module uses such information to specify the target data. And this YAM module is assumed to be augmented to IETF interfaces module. Okay, so please go to the next slide. So we have mainly two use cases for using our proposal YAM model. The first use case is centralized control of programmability modules. So by using our proposed YAM model, operator can manage this transceiver independently of the implementation. So layer 1 private network service can be provided. Second use case is using custom pages. So there are some implementation for using custom pages. For example, high accuracy metric of the layer. So by using our proposed YAM, we can use these functions as a generalized scheme. Next, please.
I think you're having network issues. Maybe if you interrupt the video, we can save some bandwidth and hear you better.
Oh, really? So I'm in Japan, so there is long distance, so the communication is not stable, I think. So I can cut. Can I cut the video showing? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so please go to next slide. Okay, so in this update, we had mainly 4 points. So firstly, Yuji Tochio from Onefinity joined as a co-author to our work. And secondly, we enhanced the use case description. For example, we added the remote monitoring requirement. Thirdly, we extended YAM module coverage. In other words, we added action, RPC, and monitoring functionality YAM modules. And finally, we modified some editorial issues. For example, we unified the terminologies. Okay, next slide, please. So these 3 slides shows the details of the added YAM modules, but today the time is limited, and I will skip to explain these details. So please go to the page number 8. Okay, and we received some feedback on the email mailing list. Thank you very much for your detailed review and variable feedbacks. And we would like to discuss mainly 2 points. The first point is that should this YAM be allowed to handle standard pages? This is the problem is raised from Roberto and also any other vendors members sends comment this point. So we understand that there are some challenges to expose raw SIMS data to external, but we have some motivations to propose this. Yeah, and there is some benefit to allow to handle the standard pages from externals. So we would like to know the how to proceed to this draft. And I'd like to note that SIMS-based control of this transceiver is performed by Network OS, even if using our proposed YAM. So this YAM does not violate the definition of SIMS as a protocol for the interaction between host and module. Also, we understand that there are something have the very strict requirements such as tight timing correction. So we assume that we can avoid that such problems by limiting the scope of the handled by our proposed YAM. Second point is about the CMIS custom page handling. So we understood that it's challenging to handle the raw CMIS data from external. So if there are better way to handle the CMIS custom page as a vendor specific field, so we would like to know that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so next action. So we need more feedback with feedback to discuss the direction of this work. And we will clarify the problem statement by investigating gap between use cases, CMIS specifications. And I understand the related work is ongoing in the following draft. So we will contribute on that work from the aspect. Okay, so that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunsuke. There are a couple of folks in the queue, so Reza, please.
Reserve from CNO. For the completeness of discussion, we had a long mailing discussion about this topic for last couple of weeks. The important aspect that we have to address here, the first thing is what problem we try to address. The problem that we want to address is exactly the problem that we started with the pluggable draft. We want to make sure that we are able to put a plug from vendor X to the host from vendor Y. And from that aspect, from the northbound, we should be able to manage this pluggable from the host, not only from configuration, but from the telemetry collection, PM, stat, and so forth. If this is the problem statement that we want to address, the whole idea of the pluggable draft is to address exactly that. So the suggestion that we had during the mailing list was put the effort of this work into the pluggable work and try to bring that one into the one cohesive solution from IETF to address that. One of the points that is presented, which is correct, and that is a valid argument that we have to find a solution for that, is how we can address some opaque attributes. He called it, the custom page, but the whole idea here is there are some attributes that is covered by one plug, which is not covered by the other one. That is a complete valid argument. This is a valid question that to be addressed, but this is one of the areas that we want to address after finishing the first round of the gap analysis. And just for the completeness of that, we call that one opaque attribute. If you go to the previous the section of the pluggable attribute, we know that this is very important aspect to be addressed. And the way that we want to address it, there are some solutions, and we can talk about that and go through a solution that's acceptable for everyone. So from that aspect, my suggestion here is to put the effort of these two drafts together. The question is valid, and let's have a cohesive solution from the IETF instead of just exposing the CMIS to northbound. CMIS has lots of at the register, bits, bytes, and that you have to configure. And from the operator perspective, it's almost impossible for somebody who is configured from north to understand the semantic of that from the very low layer. But my suggestion is for people who just go through the mailing list. There are lots of discussion on that, and hopefully we can converge from that aspect and having one solution from IETF. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I also hope work together, and I'd like to clarify what is gap, what is problem to expose CMIS raw data to external. Yeah.
So I think that the first issue that we need to solve is if the working group is willing to work on CMIS. If so, then we can consider merging the two things together. But from the discussion that I've seen on the mailing list, there still seems to be some objections to that work.
Yeah, Roberto from Cisco. Yeah, as mentioned by Reza, we are having a discussion, a very good discussion on the mailing list, and thanks for all the clarification and reply that you provide to the comment, of course. And what is mainly worrying me, if we can go back to the previous slide, is the bullet where we are claiming that this is not breaking the control of the DCO done by the network operating system, because in reality, what this draft is proposing is to send binary data, so write or read directly registry to the pluggable. And also, if this is done through the network operating system do not have the visibility of what the model and what the binary data that are passing through is doing. And this is one of the points that, from my opinion, may be worrying. And also, in the scenario of the white box, it's not clear for me how this is solving the problem of your white box OSS or implementation. And this is one question from my side. The other one, the reason why I was clearly stating that I would prefer to avoid the management of standard pages, also if we decide to move on with this type of draft, is because there are a lot of registry that are clear on write or clear on read in the standard pages. And if we allow the OSS, the external OSS, to access those registry, the risk is that the network operating system is losing the sync and the full view of what is happening in the pluggable. So these are, I think, two main things that for me are really, so that worry me about this approach.
Okay, sorry, my communication was interrupted. But regarding to second point, so we assume that it is very challenging to make open source to support new transceivers. So recently, a new transceiver occurred, provided, such as 800 gig this transceiver or over than 1 tera bps transceivers. So it's very hard to make open source such as Sonic to support this new transceiver. It takes a long time, we assume, because we need to contribute to open source communities.
My doubt is to have a standard solution to configure something that is not standard, right? That's yeah. Okay, so the queue is very long. Let's continue with Fatai.
Thank you, Daniele. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have two comments. So first, I agree with Reda that if the CMIS-based solution can cover pluggable case, I think it's better to have the efforts together and to figure out the kind of converged solution. And the second comment is that from CCAMP perspective, we usually define the control plan technologies for the data plan defined by ITUT, right? Especially ITUT SG15. And right now, actually, CMIS is defined by OIF. And but right now, actually, ITUT SG15, the last plenary meeting in October agreed to it's going to initiate a kind of new project on on the seamless things to CMIS. So I think maybe we can hold on for a while to say what is going to happen in ITUT. Okay, just to comment.
Good comment. Swami.
Thank you.
Yeah, Swami from Nokia. I think the problem statement in the draft is valid, right? I mean, I think everyone acknowledges that, right? In terms of how it can be solved, I don't believe all the problems can be solved in IETF. I think there are some that are related to in the YF as well, because I do not believe that a plug with a certain version of CMIS and without the NOS capability to manage it can be transparently configured, right? So I don't believe that would happen, right? So that's one. And the second thing is that whatever model we define for managing custom capabilities, which is things that are not modeled in the host, but is there in the plug, but somehow the OSS needs to provide, should be handled in a very abstract way, and not something that is specific to CMIS. Because if there is a new version of CMIS that does more, then we have to come back and change this. So I think we should have a more abstract solution in this. That's my view.
Nigel.
So hi, Nigel Davis. Just wanted to support the comments that were made on custom page handling and proprietary properties. I think it's important we distinguish maybe monitors and states which might be non-invasive on the host to configuration. So I think we need to look very carefully at what the actual exposure is and what the problem trying to be solved is, and then break that down into a number of pieces where we say, yeah, we can handle that. There may be maybe proprietary controls that would be something that the host would never want you to touch, but there may be monitoring, performance monitoring and so on, that would be quite acceptable to have propagated. But I agree they should be presented in an appropriate abstract way via standard Yang and so on, so not exposing CMIS and the details. And certainly with things like reset on read counters and so on, you wouldn't want to have that propagated up to the controller, have the controller have to keep resetting counters on read and so on across the network. That has to be handled by the host of the plug. So there's a lot of details we need to get into on this. There is a problem here that needs to be solved, but I don't think direct CMIS exposure is the right solution. But we really need to pick out all the problems we're trying to solve from this. Thank you.
Yes, I think Nigel was more or less saying what I was going to say. I think it's a valid problem to solve. There, I see a lot of concern on exposing CMA custom pages on Yang, which are very valid concern. So the last bullet is going. Yeah, there are better solutions, and we need to work on it. But I think the requirement is quite valid, and we need to think about that, because WDM is a cutting-edge technology. It's not something which is done and not evolving. So the standard is always one step behind what the vendors are doing. And if we don't solve this problem, basically, when you plug a pluggable from vendor A into a host of vendor B, you have too few features available in the reality. So we have to have this capability somehow available to the controller. If he knows how to manage this information, he needs to be able to manage it. But it's not an easy issue to address. I agree.
You want to comment quick, Roberto? Yes.
Yeah, just quickly on the vendor A and the vendor B, that there is also another point. So in most of the case, it can be vendor A with the host, and then B, C, D, A, and F in the pluggable. That means that you may have up to 5 controllers managing different stuff. But anyway, I fully agree that the problem is a real problem and we need to work on it. Okay.
Thank you all. So Bin is next.
Hi, everyone. And so my name is Bin Young-yoon from E3. And so my presentation is about the young data model of performance management streaming. Okay, recap. And PM streaming aims to streams several performance data to client for the emerging technology, such as network digital twin, AI, ML. It combines the I2T GDA 7710 already deployed in the transport equipment with the IETF young push. And it can be applicable to the various type of transport equipment. For example, OTN, Ethernet transport, and PLSTP. It features collection of performance data in NE by the stream measurement method from I2T, and subscription and notifications based on the young push from the IETF. The use case is enable the network equipment to stream the data to consumers in the transport network. And PM streamings utilize the documents from the two standard bodies. And on your left-hand side, you can see the functional block diagrams of the stream measurement method, count, snapshot, tide marks for the PM management. And next figure is you can see some three graphs to illustrate the gauge measurement, including the snapshot, low and high tide marks. These kind of requirements are referenced by the technical specifics documents for the equipment, including the OTN Ethernet transport. And all these requirements is specified as a young model in the document. And so PM streaming is also utilize this document from the IETF, including the subscription to the young notifications for the data store updates based on the 8641 and the event notifications. And this kind of is the young models implemented in the PM streaming to support the functional requirement of PM management in the GDA 7710. And the new versions added this new young models interval capability young. It is used advertised capability system capabilities based on the RFC 9196. Okay. Background of updates and I2T GDA 7710 revisions, and it is used for the PM streamings with consent in the I2T as study group 15 last month to include the PM streaming requirement. And so if you look at the table, you can see the difference between the existing version of GDA 7710 and the new version. And the version number is seems long. I need to collect version 5, version 6. And from the reporting point of view, and the current existing version support the streaming without subscription. And the new version support the streaming with the subscription. For example, push model. From the collection point of view, and the existing versions support the 1 second sampling interval, and also the 15 and the 24 hours measurement interval, while the new version support the variable intervals for the measurement, sampling interval, and the measurement interval. Okay, why do we need this variable time interval? And different performance metrics or client requirement made require the distinct sampling and the measurement interval. For example, latency measurement often requires more frequent sampling compared to throughput. And also hardware capabilities that can vary significantly between the vendors. You can see if you look at the table, you can see the different measurement and the sampling intervals can be used by different type of clients and parameter. So therefore, the client should be informed of the server capabilities before subscribing to the target metric. Okay, here is the young data model newly added in the document to advertise the interval capability. And it follows this RFC 9196 principle, and it defines the top level containers with the configure files. Okay. This slide shows the procedure of configuring PM streaming briefly. And the first step is start to request young models supported by server. Then the servers and returned support the young model. And we did the system capability. In the second step, the client requests more detailed information of the system capability, and the server will return the more detailed information of the system capability. And finally, and the client subscribe to the target metrics, and the client interesting. And so this kind of works based on the IETF push model and push model. Pitchwork. And welcome your comment and the interest. I think that the PM streamings will give opportunity to apply to the various type of PM parameters on each CCAMP works. And here is the GitHub link for your review and participation. I don't think that this document has been complete. And however, I believe all the requirements based on the GDA 7710 has been specified as a young model in the document. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Fatai.
Yeah, thank you, Luis. So, Bing, I think actually your draft is valuable, and but I think actually the input from the some operators will be much valuable. So I think it's better for you to invite some operators to review and contribute to your draft. You know, especially some operators. You know, they are active in question 14 or of SG15.
Yes, and actually, I missed some names, people's names, especially from the Korean major operator, and the three operator people from the three operator supported this document, and I missed this name in this. Maybe next version I'll add their names.
Okay. So we prepared the polling to see if the working group is interested to work in this topic. It seems that there is a good support. So we will consider. I mean, I would follow Fatai's suggestion to try to socialize a little bit more with operators and with other active participants in the working group. There is a very good support, very good interest in this work, and we will consider this in the prioritization for working group adoption.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next is Xiao Yun. Just 1 second. I switch deck.
Can you hear me,
Xiaoyun,
Cheers?
Yeah. Do you want the control of the slides, or should I pass the slides on your behalf?
I don't know how to control it, so could you please help me control it?
Just a click forward.
Okay.
No, free.
Right.
Okay.
Trade. Okay, now you have the control of the slides like if they were on your PC. Just click forward and you go to the next slide. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Hello everyone, I'm Qiaojun Hu from BUPT. It's an honor to represent our team today at the CCAMP working group meeting to introduce 2 new drafts we are proposing, focusing on unified optical networks and AI computing orchestration, abbreviated as UNICO. The first draft outlines the use cases, problem statement, and requirements. Second one proposes a control and management framework. I will present them and sincerely welcome your valuable feedback. First, let's talk about the motivation. The coordination between network and compute resources has been a hot topic within the IETF, as seen in ongoing work like CATS and SRv6. With the explosive growth of AI computing, the need for deep collaboration between optical networks and AI computing has become particularly urgent. The key drivers behind this are primarily threefold: latency reduction, bandwidth enhancement, and isolation characteristics. Distributed AI training and inference are extremely sensitive to network latency. Synchronizing massive model parameters requires enormous bandwidth guarantees, and the inherent hard pipe isolation ability of optical networks can provide deterministic performance guarantees for AI computing tasks. Furthermore, CCAMP working groups possesses a solid foundation in optical network control and management, which provides a strong basis for this subsequent work. Based on this motivation, we propose the concept of UNICO. It's a framework that enables bidirectional awareness, resource abstraction, and joint orchestration across the compute optical boundary. Its ultimate goal is to resolve the critical isolation between optical networks and AI computing infrastructure, thereby optimizing compute efficiency and network resource utilization. To be more specific, let's look at 3 typical use cases. The first one is distributed training. It requires use of large capacity optical networks to achieve efficient parameter synchronization across multiple data centers. Second one is distributed inference. Optical networks seamlessly integrate AI model layers distributed across different locations through low latency, high bandwidth deterministic connections, making them perform as a unified whole. The last one is accessing remote AI service. Users require stable, high-performance network connections to invoke AI service APIs in the cloud. However, with current technologies, realizing these scenarios faces two problems. Today's computing and network resources are under isolated control and management. The compute and the network domains operate independently, lacking a unified performance measurement standard. This isolation leads to suboptimal resource allocation. We can't plan optimally from an end-to-end global perspective. For example, it's hard to see whether training a large model is faster with two 500 GPU data centers or with one 500 GPU and one 400 GPU data center, because the performance of the network connection between them significantly impacts the training speed. To address these problems, we have identified the following core requirements. Firstly, we need an integrated control and management architecture to facilitate bi-directional fusion between the compute and the network control planes. Secondly, we need a unified abstraction and evaluation framework to provide a common language for both domains to understand each other's capabilities and state. Thirdly, we need some scheduling algorithm for joint orchestration to develop strategies capable of end-to-end resource allocation for specific domain. Before showing the control and management architecture, I will introduce the service model. We have considered the need of different types of customers. For AI training, customers can specify the model deadline, performance, scale, and the data privacy requirements. For inference, customers can lease computing resources to deploy and operate their own inference models. For accessing remote AI services, customers can simply invoke pre-deployed inference API offered by third parties. Control and management architecture primarily consists of four logical entities. Service orchestrator faces the end customer and receives service requests. UCO is a core of Unicode, responsible for cross-domain coordination and global decision-making. ONC manages optical networks resources. Specifically, ONC is conceived as a broad term representing the entire optical network control system, not just a low-layer device controller. CPS manages computing resources. Concurrently, we have defined three key interfaces. SUI connects SO and UCO. UI connects UCO and ONC. UCI connects UCO and CPS. These interfaces will be crucial foundation for future interoperability and standardization. Finally, regarding our next steps, the current two drafts are version 0. So we sincerely welcome and look forward to your comments and suggestions. Our upcoming work will focus on the following areas: improving the draft content based on your feedback, delving into the design of Unicode interfaces and young data models, and developing the unified resource abstraction and evaluation framework. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Any question? No. Slide. Ok. Sì. Just a question on. Sì. Just a question on the architecture here. So the third layer, the unified compute optical orchestrator. I mean, this is pretty much linked with the comment that I already made on the mailing list. I understand that you want to address optical use cases, and that's why we have there a unified compute and optical orchestrator. But I still struggle to understand why you want to do something that is so specific while we could have there a unified compute and transport orchestrator, which could either connect to an optical controller or an IP controller, or maybe an MDSC that does the orchestration of the IP and optical network. So in other words, could this work be generalized to cover a broader scope, IP networks, OTN networks, optical networks, or do you think it makes sense to start that narrow? I mean, I understand your use case is strongly related to optical. You are thinking of an optical connection between two compute pools.
Yeah.
And that this is the reason why you are proposing to have this orchestration between a compute power scheduler and an optical network controller. But wouldn't it be worth extending this to make it more generic and applicable to a broader scope rather than optical only?
I think
you can answer offline if you want. No worries.
Okay.
Steven.
Yes, hello, this is Stephen Hsu speaking. I have a similar comment to your comment, Danielle, where I think that it's not general enough. The general problem is, how do you manage a collection of compute, networking, and storage? Because in the DC domain, if you look at, people are familiar with the GPU to GPU, but there's also the remote memory access, which is happening. So there's the memory aspect to it as well. So generically, that would be transferring bits, transforming bits, and storing bits. It's general 3 things you can do to a bit. Having an optical network, as shown in this picture, is only one way of transferring bits. There's other ways to transfer for bits. So in DCs, active electrical cables, they're also used, and they're not optical, right? So I think your draft points to a general problem, but I think it's too narrow. And additionally, when you put groups of compute together in data centers, then in effect they recur. So like the scale up problem is more localized than the scale out problem, which is more localized than the scale across problem. And so that hints at a recursive management solution to managing networking, compute, and storage. So yeah, I think we should talk about it. I don't think we should bless a particular point solution at this point. Thank you.
Hello, this is Adrian Farrell. Sort of speaking as CAT's co-chair. I'd be really interested to see how this picture fits with the CAT's architecture, which incidentally is going through working group last call at the moment. So if that is a bad architecture from an optical point of view, now is the time to tell us, because in a couple of weeks' time, it'll be too late. A lot of what worries me about this picture is what assumptions there are for dynamic provisioning. or whether this is a long-term planning tool. And I'm not really sort of seeing that from the picture and the discussion. And if it's dynamic, then there are possibly some assumptions about what optical equipment is already deployed, and that's maybe missing as well. So I suppose bottom line is more work and more discussion.
Yeah. So answering to the first question, I see that CATS was mentioned. So I assume, and Xiaojun, correct me if I'm wrong, that at least a relationship with the CATS work has been taken into account. Have you reviewed the CATS architecture? Is there any comment you would like to make, or I mean, Adrian seems to be inviting you to review the CATS architecture and maybe do a cross post between the CCAMP and the CATS mailing list. I take it as a yes.
And there's a piece that's not in the CATS architecture, which is about provisioning paths. So CATS is choosing paths, essentially in a sort of TE sense, which presumes that the path already exists. And this is got a piece of provisioning path. So there's that kind of ACTN loopback that's maybe missing and can fit in a wider framework.
Yep. So given that there is a scheduler and then in the controller, I assume that here provision is included as well. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Xiaojun. So next is Italo.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm presenting on behalf of COTUS these new individual drafts for a BIS of 8561. BIS is not really new, it's an update of this draft. So we have an overview. We are working on this BIS in a GitHub, and we are tracking the issue there. And the objective of this draft is basically to manage microwave interfaces. But we have two types of interfaces: the carrier termination and the radio link termination, where multiple carriers can be aggregated. And this draft is obsoleting 8561 because after the publication, there was some review in ETSI micromillimeter wave ISG, and they found some gaps which we are trying to address with this new update. We have closed a few issues, which were mainly some editorial issue in the Young. And we have some technical open issue for which we have already agreed what to do, but we have not yet done the update of the Young. One is the band and carrier aggregation, so the possibility to be able to create a radio link in one node, which is aggregating carriers which are terminating on this node or on another node, on a remote node, which was not supported in the RFC 8561. The possibility to also to have a cross-correlation interface cancellation between carriers that are terminating on different nodes, and also the possibility to detect mismatch when you have set up a carrier between two nodes, which are not exactly the one we wanted to interconnect. So the issue is already closed. So we know what to do, but we have not yet addressed, updated the YAM model. There are three open issues which are still under discussion. One is about the need to add a new coding for modulation, like 1 and 4 BPSK. And the second issue is to how to configure a maintenance window for the microwave interface, where when you want to start a maintenance window, you want to say switch off the transmitter for a period of time, and there are some not clear understanding about how you can do that with an RPC when you have a state that says that the transmitter has to be on or off. And then we have some configuration where you have one transmitter and multiple receivers in parallel. So how do we manage them as a single carrier with only receiver, or with a carrier with one transmitter and multiple receiver? These are some discussion points. And the people, micro experts, are still debating on what is the best way to model this type of use case. And we got some comments from Ayana, early review comments, and the plan is to address those comments, and maybe we need to create an issue in GitHub to remember us to do that change. And then the summary, basically, if anybody is interested on this work, we are having weekly calls on Thursday. We have maybe we need more calls because the current schedule is expiring in a couple of weeks. And we have a GitHub where people can also read the status and the open issues and contribute to it. And we think this draft is ready for becoming a working group document to show that we need to move forward on this update. That's all.
Thank you. Any question for Italo? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Given we have some time left, we wanted to briefly discuss also the fact that we are planning to update the charter of the working group. This is something that we started a while back, but we never brought this to the ISG. Actually, Haumian sent a link to the repository in GitHub where we stored the new proposed charter. I don't know if you already had the chance to review it. If not, please do that. It's one of the last emails that Haumian has sent to the list. You can find the link there. Just a quick summary. So the reason why we never pushed hard to have it updated is that there aren't significant changes. I mean, the scope of CCAMP remains the same. Everything that is a non-packet, so layer 0, 1, and 2. We added some comments regarding pluggables because that's something that was not specifically mentioned in the old charter. I mean, for sure that applies to CCAMP and not to other working groups. It's implicitly included also in the actual charter, but given that we are updating it, it deserves an explicit mention. OTN slicing is another update, even if, I mean, this could be something that could potentially move to onions if and when created. So there are some minor updates there that on which we would like to get your comments. So if you have the possibility, please get to the link and review it. Maybe one question that we can ask now, if you want to go to the mic and comment, is there anything that is not covered in the actual charter that you would like to see covered? Probably no one remembers the actual charter by heart. Very bad. Well, it's a bit long. So the actual work includes definition of protocol-independent metrics and parameters for describing links and paths that are required in technology-specific networks. Maintenance and extensions of LMP. This is, I mean, this is something that falls in our charter. There has not been any LMP work recently, but I would keep it because in case that there is any new work coming up in the future, people should know that that's something that belongs to CCAMP. The same applies to specific extensions to GMPLS, routing and signaling. Protocol work to support data planes that have already been approved by other standardization bodies, ITU, etc. Definition of data models for the non-packet technology-specific network control and management. Definition of management objects and control of O&M techniques relevant to the protocols and the extensions specified within the working group. How the properties of network resources gathered by a measurement protocol can be distributed using existing protocols, OSPF, ISIS, BGPLS, etc. The CCAMP working group is currently working on the following tasks. Protocol extensions in support for WSUN. Maybe we could also say OTN. Protocol extensions in support of flexible grid Lambda networks. Maintenance of the existing protocol extensions and data models for non-packet technology networks, Ethernet, TDM, OTN, etc. The protocols mentioned above include RSVP, OSPF, and LMP. Architecture and data model for non-packet transceivers on optical devices. These may include optical pluggables and microwave links. So this is a little bit what is included in the new proposal. Very few differences with respect to the old one. If nothing comes to your mind that you wanted to share with the working group now, please do it on the mailing list. And that's it from my side. I don't know, Ketan, if you wanted to add anything. Roberto.
I don't know, there are some ongoing discussion in the industry about optical cross-connect or optical cross-connection in the data center. I don't know if this may fall somehow into the charter.
For sure, we have seen a proposal today to discuss about it. I suggest you propose on the mailing list and see if there is a support for that. Any last word?
Whenever you are done, just send it over and I'll take it to the ISG.
Okay, let's give us a deadline, given that we all work against the deadlines. I don't know, couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and then we can move it forward. Thanks a lot. We are done for today.
Forse possiamo mettere il DLF fino a novembre, fine da novembre.
Posso far così, guarda, faccio un reply alla mail. Fine novembre è un po' tanto. Scrivo please send your comment.
Prossima settimana è 10 lunedì. 3 settimane sarebbe 24, forse 27, 24.